All right, let's see if we got this working here. Good morning, good morning. It is bright and early, kind of. I've been up for a couple hours already, so let's give a few minutes or a few seconds for people to pop on. Hey, BV Rocks, can you hear me? Can you give me a thumbs up? There's Gates. Gates, can you hear me? Just want to make sure everything is good. Anyway, guys, what we are doing, this is episode 2 of Real, Raw, and Radical. I am committed to delivering value for everybody. And so, as I've been going live for the past couple weeks, I am now bringing people on to deliver more value. I am not only showing you guys, but I'm giving you guys validation of those that I run with, this tribe that I run with of men and women about living the Warrior's Way. So, without further ado, I'm going to bring in Gates right now. Hey, there's David. What's up, brother? So let's see. We'll give Gates a minute to. There he is.
Good morning.
All right. I do not
Okay.
have sound. Give me 1 second, Gates. This is.
All right. Uh,
That is very, very strange.
you froze on me.
Mhm. Shoot.
Yeah,
Gates, you can hear me, huh?
I can hear you.
Darn
You
it.
keep
Darn
freezing.
it, darn it, darn it.
Uh,
This is so strange. Sorry, guys. I apologize. I do not have sound right now. It's just one of those things. Yeah, Gates, I cannot hear you. Let me grab my headphones real quick. Sorry, guys. Maybe it's my mic. Let me just pull this. Let's see here. Right there, Gates?
I'm here.
There we
Can you?
go. All right. The mic was a problem. So,
Ah,
what's up,
okay.
brother?
Man, what's going on?
How's it going this morning?
Oh man, it is fantastic. It's been kind of one of those weeks where we had some ups and downs and things have
Mhm.
kind of been flying at you from every angle. And I think for me, one of those things is keeping my cool during things that are unexpected and challenging along the way. And that's been kind of the big thing for me this week.
Yeah, it's also been the same for me. Yeah, definitely had some challenges, some obstacles in the way, but nonetheless, just keep moving forward. So let's get rolling, brother. So who is Gates?
Well, let's see here. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a day trader. I'm a coach. You can see in the background. I kind of work out of this home office. I'm not surrounded by a lot of people on a professional level,
Mhm.
so my interaction with people tends to come more like this on a pretty regular
Got
basis. And I think that as this dynamic becomes more and more the norm, there becomes a situation where some people don't thrive in an environment like this.
right.
Some people really struggle with that interactive nature or that lack thereof. And all of a sudden, you start to see different dynamics in a world that used to have certain norms that are no longer the case, and trying to figure out how to navigate these in a way that is meaningful for them and productive for them. And you know, I think that's different for everybody, but I think that when that dynamic starts to shift, you have to figure out how to make it work.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's something I experience too, because I do work from home a lot. So day trading, holy smokes, dude, brother, this has already been beneficial. I'm gonna have to hit you up here soon about that stuff. So how long you been doing that?
Oh God. Okay, so I'm going to give you kind of the nutshell version of the horrific story. About 25 years ago, about 25 years ago, my dad passed away, had cancer, and he was a commercial real estate broker, but he developed a day trading strategy. Anyway, he was 59. It was kind of one of these unexpected things. He was my hero. So wanting to follow in his footsteps, I took his notes and I learned kind of how to trade his system. And within short order, it was going really well. So my mom said, here's everything that he left me, go trade it. And in a matter of about 6 months, I took about 100 grand and turned it into almost 700 grand in months.
Wow.
And
Wow.
all of a sudden something shifted, and faster than it went up, it came down and crashed.
Mm-hmm.
And the net result was we were very much in a state of grief and in a state of shock. So we had this very interesting idea that we should just take all the equity out of our house and start over. And we did, and it crashed. And I basically financially destroyed my mother just months after she was widowed, just months after I lost my dad, she lost her husband. And so oddly enough, trading was constantly a part of my life, but I just got to the point where I could never quite get there. In fact, one of my best friends, who is one of the most prolific traders I've ever experienced in my life, he and I actually co-founded a trading education company about 15 years ago, and I had to walk away. I couldn't get there. I mean, just mentally speaking, I couldn't handle the concept of trading. At one point, I was even a trading coach. I was a very successful coach in the terms that my students made a lot of money, but I still couldn't trade myself. Yeah. So at the beginning of this year, I made a commitment that this was it. And not only did I start trading, but I had to relearn everything from scratch. I mean, I always equate it to like everybody's here starts at ground zero. I was starting at ground -10 because I had all this baggage that was associated with it. And so not only did I start trading, I actually started live streaming my trading so people could watch the journey. Now, I've made it very clear, don't watch me to try to learn how to trade. Please, please, please don't do that. Yeah. But if you want to see what that journey looks like, especially when you're literally coming from behind, that kind of was the whole point. And over the course of these last 8 months, I had made strides in trading that, I mean, I'd spent years in the past trying to get even a fraction of the growth I've experienced just in the last 8 months, and it's been pretty wild and fascinating. And I still have a long way to go, but man, it's if you look at me in January versus now, it's night and day. Man, that is an amazing story. I mean, the fact that you could essentially lose it all, and your mother as a partner in part of that, and not walk away from that is pretty amazing. So that's, you know, that's kind of like a rebirth story, you know, like, I don't know, you know, my background is the fire department, so I don't know if you're familiar with the phoenix bird, but sure. The phoenix bird is a bird that when it dies, it's reborn from the ashes. And I mean, man, that's exactly what I thought of when you told me that story. So I have very little experience trading. I actually went through real life tradings basic course for free and started messing around with a little bit. I will admit that I bought a shit ton of AMC stock that is now worthless. But hey, you know, maybe they'll come back in about 50 years. But anyway, I did get on that train, but it's definitely, it is fun. It's a little risky, you know, when you're throwing some money in, but that's what makes it fun. It's kind of like gambling in a way, but I feel like it's a little more predictable. So, I think if you equate it to gambling, you kind of have to equate it to poker, because that is the one game that you can play at a casino where your skill comes into play. You can actually have an advantage as a poker player. Well, you can have an advantage as a trader when you know what you're doing, when you have a strategy. But more important than a strategy, and this is one of the things that I talk to people about all the time, is anybody can learn a strategy. Really, in about 2 weeks, you can effectively learn the mechanics of a trading strategy, and virtually all of them out there are going to be viable. I mean, they're going to be profitable strategies, but the difference between one person profiting with the strategy and one person not is what's going on in the head. Because as humans, we have this natural tendency to want to gain what we've lost. You know, you start to develop a mindset of, hey, man, I had a bad trade. I'm going to double up on the next one. I mean, we've seen this in gambling. Get it all back. A million times, yeah. You know, so I'm going to double up on this one, and God forbid you lose that one. Now all of a sudden you're 3 back, and like, for example, one of the trades that I do, I run a 9 to 21 risk-reward ratio, which means that if I have a losing trade, I got to win 2.5 trades just to get back to break even, right? So if you start doubling it up, I mean, you can see the potential shit
Right.
that comes from that mentality. And trading is all about discipline. Trading is all about being
Yep.
consistent and disciplined and, almost emotionless. Now, we're never going to be emotionless, but taking the emotion out of the decision, because the emotion is going to be there, but it's having to control that and manage that.
Yeah, and you're so right, because that is the one thing that I did take away. Now, obviously, I bought the AMC stuff on emotion, but everything else that I purchased was very strategic and calculated and everything. And you know what's funny is that translates to how we handle our daily lives. And so that's a great segue into. I mean, I could probably sit here and talk trading for the next hour, but. Who was Gates? So who was Gates before you found the Warrior Program?
Oh, shit. Wow. It's interesting. You had Doug on the other day, and I
Yep.
had the opportunity to watch that. I love Doug. I started and I found Warrior actually at the exact same time. He and I were in the Wake of Warrior Challenge together. That's how far back we go.
Wow.
And so, I was hitting what would be considered probably the biggest pit of my life. We were in this, the world around us was, for all intents and purposes, going through this massive shift. A lot of us kind of referred to it as falling apart. I don't do well with stuff on my face. I come to find out through the course of these couple of years that I've had, generalized anxiety my entire life. Now, I know I'm the only one that has experienced this particular condition, right? I'm being absolutely facetious here, but I never realized it. Some of these things that I now associate with some anxiety, I just thought were the natural physical and emotional reactions to stress. And for me, they just tend to be a lot more heightened. So when you take the situation that was going on around us, which was demands of this, demands of that, literal blocking of your face, that for me was an issue with gaining, the oxygen that I needed. So you couple that with the fact that I had just gone through a 7-year custody battle, which I had initially won, but
Wow.
restarted. Per the judge decided to just let my ex-wife go at it again. And through the course of that second round, after being a couple $100,000 in, I said, this is bullshit. I'm leaving the state of California, which was not where I wanted to be. I'm a Texas boy, and I'm back home. I said, I'm going to go back to Texas, and the intent is for me to bring the boys with me. Nobody, particularly my attorney, mentioned to me that the reality is that in the state of California, at the age in which they were, and a lot of the facets that were surrounding the situation, there's just not a chance in hell they were coming to Texas with me to disrupt their world as it was, regardless of who's right, who's wrong, any of that other bullshit, which always comes into play. They're not going to bring the kids out of the world that they know. And so I moved back to Texas before the decision. Then I get the decision. So all of a sudden, what I have been fighting for close to a decade, all of a sudden, the backward effects of that starts to come crashing on me, which just brought so much additional stress into my life. My now wife, who was my girlfriend of almost 10 years at the time, we started having some issues, and it created some friction between us. And just in one moment, everything came together, and I kind of just had this mental break, and I basically separated myself from everything. And I ended up at the time breaking up with my then girlfriend, who is now wife. Obviously, we've moved forward from there. And so I find myself in this pit of being alone and having this anxiety, and things that I can control, I've broken. Things that I can't control are falling apart, and I don't know what to do. So I start Googling whatever it was that I Googled, brought up some ads by Garrett J. White, and this blonde, whatever, however you want to describe him, starts yelling and cussing me at the screen. And I'd never seen an ad where somebody was cussing at me before.
Wow.
I don't have a problem with the language. It was just, there was this reality to it, this realness to it, that just spoke to me. And I was like, you know what? I'm putting this all back together. had some conversations with my wife, had multiple conversations with the kids, and ultimately brought myself to this point where I'm like, okay, I've got to do something. So shortly after, as I'm piecing everything back together, I start this challenge. I was a mess. I mean, to describe myself as a mess is such an understatement.
Right.
And so for like the first time in my life, I took this, it was about like a 40-day period, and I did everything that was asked of me. I did not fail at a single task over the course of these 40 days in this challenge.
Wow.
And I came out the other side a different man. By no means where I wanted to be, and certainly by no means where I am now, but I saw enough in those 40 days where I was like, holy shit, this is a part of my life now.
Wow. Yeah. So yeah, you kind of already explained, kind of, how you've started to come out of that. So now you've gone through Warrior, you've essentially crawled out of the pit. So who is Gates now, more specifically in regards to what you're doing now? How that's changed for you. What does it look like for you now?
So now I'm a man on a mission. Again, I'm not where I want to be. And when I say this, I think it bears mentioning the fact that the way that I see things and the way that I've learned to see things over this time is I will never be the man that I want to be, because who I am now sees this. This guy is going to see a whole new level, and then this guy is going to see a whole new level. So this is a long-term, forever game of constant evolution, constant change, and constant transformation. But when I look back at who I was 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, I continue to see this evolution of who I am. I am the phoenix who has risen from the ashes these multiple times, to go back to your example. The confidence that I have in myself, the ability to have a conversation with you here live right now is not something that I could have done a year ago. Wow. Certainly couldn't sit here and express my, my pain from something that really was this life-changing pivotal moment for me. But there was so much shame associated with everything that was going on at that point. I felt like a failure. I lost my kids. I felt like a failure. I destroyed my relationship. I felt like a failure. My business was falling apart. I felt like everything that was that stability for me, which was this country, the foundation of what this world looks like for me, was crumbling, was falling apart, because I'm sitting here looking at everybody is just handing away everything that I find value in, and I don't understand it. Wow. And so what I did was I curled up into a little ball and I shrunk away. And who I am now is open, is expressive. I want to do something about this. And when I think about my progression, because this was over 2.5 years ago that I started the challenge, and for about that first year and a half, I spent most of that in this sort of self-paced phase, which was very helpful in one sense, but it was just never consistent enough for me, or I was never consistent enough in that space to really move forward the way that I wanted to. And it wasn't until February of this year where I had an opportunity to really just take a much deeper step and a more interactive sort of structure with Warrior to not only hold myself accountable, because the money that I put into it in and of itself was an accountability for me. I wasn't going to pay this kind of money and not do the work.
Right.
But there was also the interactivity with the brothers. There was also the interactivity with the coaches. And there was just this, it became not a part of my life, but it became who and what I am that I bring to every part of my life. So I posted yesterday, about a year ago, I did one of those body scans where you can kind of see, everything, and, the whole body structure. And among other things, the one that really stood out for me was body fat percentage. A year ago, I was 23.1% body fat. Almost a quarter of my entire structure was fat. Yeah. I did this about a week and a half ago, and I'm sitting at 16.2%. This didn't happen overnight. This happened over small decisions that I made every day, over and over and over again. I think about where I am spiritually speaking. God is a part of every decision that I make. God is a part of every thought that I have. If you'd asked me this, you call it a couple of years ago, I was one of those Christian in name only guys. I had always been around the Christian faith, and I kind of understood the basic philosophy, but there was nothing that was a deep part of who and what I am. And certainly, if I was lucky at best, I would think about God on Sundays, if in fact I went to church that Sunday, which honestly at that point was still pretty rare.
And let alone you wouldn't be talking about him on a live publicly on Instagram.
Not. Yeah. Absolutely not. You know, so now God is a facet of everything that I do.
Yeah.
My relationship with my wife, again, look, we're all human. We have ups and downs and issues and non-issues and things like that. But the way that we handle them has really transitioned in a way to where, you know, I'm not breaking shit. I'm not having these outbursts like I've had in the past. I'm in more control of who and what I am, of myself, of my being. I meditate on a daily basis. It is one of the most foundational pieces of what I do, which keeps me centered, keeps me closer to God, but it also keeps me in this space where when I'm with my wife, I'm with my wife. I'm not with my phone. I'm not thinking about tomorrow's trading day. I'm not thinking about whatever else is going on around me. I sure as shit don't care about what's going on in the government, because this is the time that I get to spend with my wife. When I'm talking to my sons, there is just this intense focus on where I am and what I'm doing at that moment, because there is nothing more important to me in this world than these people. And
right.
I was absolutely that guy. I'd be on the phone with someone, I'd stick them on speakerphone, I'd be scrolling through Facebook, I'd be half hearing. Shit, I'd be doing that in person sometimes.
Wow.
You know, that was just my life. My mind was always racing, and it was just a part of you know, I couldn't focus. And
man, brother, that is so good. I mean, there's so many. First of all, thank you for sharing that truth. That's why I decided after talking with Doug, we're just going to call this Real, Raw, and Radical, because that is what we're doing. We're sharing this truth publicly, and there's so many parallels to your story, to my story, and anybody that's going to watch this. I mean, any man that is going through something, they don't have to be going through the exact same things that you went through, that you've described, or the things that I've gone through, but there's so many good nuggets and what you just unpacked there. I think the first thing that I would say is, in the beginning you said something of like, you're chasing this future self, and you're continually doing the things that you're going to, basically do on a daily basis to get to that person. But also, what you didn't say, which is also true, and I know this is true, just in speaking with you, is you're not going to go back to that guy you were before Warrior.
No.
That in itself is powerful, because you have risen from that proverbial ashes, in a sense, and you're like, no fucking way am I going to go back to that guy. Right. I may be chasing this other future self that is kind of hard to comprehend, but no fucking way am I going backwards. And I think that is so powerful, because there are so many men that get stuck in that cycle of, they might just change something. You clearly have not gotten stuck in that cycle, but that's what I want to point out is pulling yourself out of that pit, surrounding yourself with brothers in Warrior, going through the Wake Up Warrior Challenge, doing these things, the small things on a daily basis. There's no way you'll be going back just by doing those things.
Precisely. And that's ultimately what's brought me to the point where I am now. Is, interestingly enough, through the course of all of this, last year I shut down my business of off and on for 20 years, but consistently for about 12 years, which was I had a mattress business that was eating me alive. I shut it down last year, and by the end of last year, I was selling off the last couple of mattresses that I had to cover electric bills. Mm-hmm. In November, I had to figure out a way to come up with $100 just to get the replays of the WarriorCon event, because every credit card I had was maxed out. I had no business. I had no real income. I was just trying to figure things out. And by February, I was able to commit to a 5-figure payment, single payment, to move into this coaching space because I knew what it would bring to me. What I put into play to make that happen was a result of a year and a half of self-paced study that I could have shrunk down into a 3-month period if I was a little bit more aggressive with it, but it's turned into a consistent income and has put me at a point right now in my life where I'm at the highest income level I've ever been with any consistency. I've had spikes because that's the nature of that small business ownership, but with a consistent level, it's higher than it's ever been. And with that, I'm yet again at this point where I'm pivoting into a space where I know the value that I have gotten from this world. And I know what it's brought to me, not just in my finances, but in my marriage, in my spiritual connection to God, in my physical body. This has now become just this driving passion for me, this calling that I have to bring this to other men. Now, I say other men, I know that other women need this. I know that women need this as well. But when I think about my experience in this, I know that the fact that when I was working through a lot of my stuff, especially early on, there are things that I would have just never said in front of a woman. So the way that I've built my program is it will be for men. Now, there's not necessarily a specific necessity that somebody be a trader, but one of the focuses that I have is how living this way will improve someone's results as a trader. Now, someone can come back and say, hey, man, I watch you trade live every day, and your results aren't exactly where I want to be. In fact, I'm about 10 miles ahead of you. And to that, I say, that's not the point. I'm not teaching you how to trade. I'm not teaching you the strategy. What I am teaching you is a time warp process that will take your growth from here to that next level and shift it from a year and a half down to 3 months, which is something that I have done repeatedly at least twice now over the last 6 months. That level of growth has been massive, and it's not just in trading, it's not just in income, it's in every facet of your life. And
you're giving them a foundation.
Right.
Like, even though someone may be further ahead of you, you're giving somebody a foundation to which they can build their life, not just in trading, but their marriage, or that's what's critical there.
Right. And what you and I both know that maybe not everybody else does is that literally living this way, it doesn't matter what you do, how you do it, what frame you have that your life is, it's going to work for you because it is simply a foundation of being, a foundation. It's an operating system, if you will. And if you live by this operating system, you show up more powerfully, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, in relationships, the whole 9 yards.
And that would be probably the second biggest takeaway, just in speaking with you, Gates, is power. Like this term, this sense of being and showing up more powerful as a man. You've said it a few times, and that's something that I resonate with you, because that's how I feel too. Like, I get up as a man and I just feel more powerful, more than I ever have before. And I want anybody watching this video to hear what we're really saying, this conversation. We're not here to advertise for Warrior, but Warrior was the catalyst to us jumping out of the ashes, to getting out of our fucking pits, to getting out of our own way so that we can go live the life that we want to have. Right. Warrior's not paying us to have this conversation. This is just two brothers having a conversation and sharing our truth and our facts of where we were at and where we're at now and where we're fucking going. And that is what is so powerful about this conversation.
I can guarantee you the man that I see before me is not the same man I'll see in December at the end of the year. And 100%. I know particularly vice versa. I just, from what I've seen and from what I've done, the transformation is it's unmistakable. It's undeniable. And it's God, what's the word I'm looking for? It's inevitable if you do the work. And that's really ultimately all it is for me. So as I get up every morning, I've committed to getting up at 4:30 every morning. I hit 4:40 this morning, and I was pissed about it.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to let it slow my day down. I'm going to be a few minutes behind, but the reality is, this is a commitment that I've made. A year ago, 4:30 in the morning. No,
No
absolutely
way.
not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And nobody ever told me, Gates, you got to get up at 4:30 in the morning if you want to make this work. Gates decided at some point that if he wants to make this work the way he wants it to, 4:30 is the time, because it started at 5, and that was a big commitment for me.
Yeah.
I just needed that little extra love. But that was the whole thing. Nobody has ever told me to do anything other than simply change a few habits. And through the process of changing those few habits, I have determined what works for me and what makes me a better version of me. And I continue to do that every day, and I continue to see the results every day. I know you do. I mean, I know Doug made the comment. You and I hadn't necessarily had a whole lot of interaction prior to this,
Right.
but I've seen you on some trainings. I've seen you on some different things, and when you see people regularly enough, you start to see the patterns over and over and over again, and it doesn't matter at what level they're at. As long as they're just taking these little actions, it's just what a change and what a different dynamic it creates in everything that we touch. It's that ripple effect.
Well,
And
and that's the thing. It's like, whether it's in trading or coaching or whatever it is, it's like we're a couple of men who have started to figure it out for ourselves, and we've made those small shifts, and now we're inviting people to lock arms with us and walk with us in this journey, because there's so many men that need it. I mean, I keep hammering the statistics on my videos because, I'm a very logical and pragmatic person. And so when I look at those, I'm like, holy shit, like, we are lost as men, and even women too. Like, but behind almost every man is a woman too, right? Like, we've all been there. You've shared that truth on here as well. So it's so fucking awesome to have this conversation with you this morning, and hear your story, and kind of, just what's really interesting, and I've said this a lot in our trainings that we've had, is we're all on the same path, but we're just at different, stops along the way. Like, we are all headed the same direction. And it doesn't matter what walk of life you're in, but we're all headed the same direction. We're just at different stops along the way. And the more that I have these conversations with brothers, the more that I do this myself every day, it's like my affirmation within that story or frame is it just gets stronger. Like, we all want this freedom down the road. We want more money. We want more time. We want to have these deeper connections. And it's like, yeah, we're all on the same path. We're all searching for the same thing. We're at different areas in our life, different stops, to where we're either going to figure it out or we're not. And, it might take some of us a little longer to figure it out. But if we can help men figure it out quicker, like, that's part of my mission.
Right. And I love the way that you put that. We're locking arms, and we're heading down that road together. This is not us trying to be this fabulous leader and guru and any of that bullshit. Yep. This is about getting that army of men, or in some cases, I know a lot of folks are working with women or both, or whatever the case may be. But it is taking those other people that, for whatever reason, are like-minded, resonate, and connect, and let's walk this path together. Because the more I walk it with other people by my side, the stronger I get, and vice versa. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, so good, brother. So thankful that you hopped on today. Before I ask you this last question, I think we have to say that none of this video should be taken as financial advice, right?
I should be so used to saying that by now. Yes, absolutely. None of this is financial advice, and please consult your tax attorney and your whatever, and all the rigmarole. Yeah. You are responsible for your own actions, which is one of the things that we talk about and learn about. So, yeah.
But I gotta ask, because it keeps popping up. Like, what do you think about this Michael Burry, like, hedging against the stock market, like billions of dollars?
I'm going to be real honest with you. I don't follow a bunch of that shit. I'm not exactly sure what's going on right now. The reason that I like the whole concept of day trading is I'm in and out of a trade literally in seconds to minutes.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if it's going up. It doesn't matter if it's going down.
Got
Yes, there are times where I'm significantly more involved in the news and in everything that's going on. But what I've found for me, the news is more detrimental, because when I start looking at financial news, guess what gets mixed into the mix? The shit that fucks with my head that I just don't want to be rattling around, especially when I'm trading. So look, here's the thing. The big picture of things is I think that the financial world is a complete shit show, and the biggest thing that we can do for ourselves right now is hedge ourselves against what could potentially be moving forward. Continued inflation, increased inflation, manipulation. I mean, there's just so many words that can be used to describe what in the world is going on. And what I have found for myself is a means of hitting it in either direction. So if it's going up, fine. If it's going down, fine. The only thing I don't want to see is that flat. And when you have shit shows going on in the news and the financial world, it creates movement. And for me, I don't give a shit what that movement is. I just want movement, because that's what's going to make my trades work the way that I trade. Now, different people will say different things, and different people will talk about the validity and the importance of the news and all that kind of crap. For me, it's more detrimental to be that focused on the specifics. And so I try not to be, other than really just a handful of things. I actually host an interview podcast with successful traders. And so I kind of have to just bring some stuff in, and it's on Monday. So the reality is I'm probably going to get through all of that this weekend, and I'll have a better answer Monday. But Friday. And
so are you doing your live trading on Instagram, or is there a different platform you're using?
Not on Instagram, simply because of the streaming software I use. It gets complicated with Instagram. It's probably just something I need to figure out. But I trade on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. For Facebook, it's GAC Trader. And for YouTube and Twitter, it's GAC Trading Pro. So if anybody is interested,
I know I'm interested. I'd love to watch that when I have some time, because it's something that I definitely went through a course, and I started playing around with a couple $1,000s, and had some success, had some failure, but it is something that I'm definitely interested in, and just to kind of learn more about it, because it's so interesting. So but yeah, again, brother, thanks for popping on. I'll tag you as a collaborator so that you can share this with anybody that you want to, and then be sure to drop those other channels in here. So
I'll throw them in here in just a couple of minutes, man. I appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun, really helpful, I know, for me.
All right. Is there anything else you want to say before we sign off?
No, man. And as always, as I like to tell everybody as I'm signing off, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. God bless. Have a wonderful weekend, and can't wait to see y'all soon.
All right, man. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day.
You got it. You too.
Thanks.